This is our first episode of the Amazing Grace podcast.
Yeah.
This podcast is all about sharing stories, mainly sharing stories about transformation and God's basic intervention in our lives. We're talking about how He brings amazing grace to our everyday experiences. And so tonight is just a story about that. And we're in a church building tonight for actually quite an intentional reason. And I wondered if Rev Wale would like to explain why we're here.
Yeah.
And why we called it Amazing Grace.
Yeah. Firstly, you can just call me Wale, even though I am a Rev. But welcome. So we are in St. Mary Woolnorth, and I'm the priest of this church. I lead a church called Imprint, and we are located here in one of the sites in the City of London. And this specific site is called St. Mary Woolnorth. And one of my predecessors from the 18th century is John Newton. And John Newton actually wrote the famous hymn, Amazing Grace. And he wrote it about his own personal story of how God transformed his life, how the Lord forgave him for some of his brokenness, for some of the things that he did in his lifetime. And he was so in awe of God's grace and his generosity and his forgiveness towards him that he wrote that song, Amazing Grace. And there is a specific line that stands out to me. And the line in that hymn, the line that really stands out to me, it basically says, I once was lost, but now I'm found. And I'm sure all of us know that song, Amazing Grace. Shall we sing it? Yeah? No? He wants to set the key for us.
I actually think, just sing it a little bit. He's also a singing
Okay,
Rev.
you guys, you have to sing it with me, okay? Yeah. I didn't drink any tea today, so, okay. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. Beautiful, wow. Yes. Yeah.
So it is those lines, I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. Are the particular moments in our lives where we're like, that's kind of extreme. Like, I once was blind, but now I see. But there are so many stories, especially the story of Amazing Grace, that actually tells of that truth. Because John Newton, he was actually a slave trader. So he was doing really evil things. And so for him to say that, like, I once was blind, but now I see, is pretty profound. To go from a slave trader to a priest. And we did want to just bring stories of everyday lives of our friends who we interact with and people that we meet just by being around church or even like at the pub or, I don't know, like on the tube. I've met so many people who have stories like that. I once was lost, but now I'm found. We wanted to give an opportunity for those stories to be told. Stories are so powerful and they connect us to the very deep parts of us that mean what it means to be human kind of comes out as we hear another human expressing their own life experience. So this is just an opportunity to connect with one another, connect with your life story. And our hope is that you connect with something that's bigger than yourself. We both are Christians, that this isn't a Christian podcast for Christians. So if you're here tonight or you're listening, this is for you. It's not a niche conversation just for those who believe. It really is for those who just want to understand more of what it is to see and be alive.
So beautiful, so beautiful. And this podcast, well, this specific episode is called Divine Intervention, How God Saved Me from Self-Destruction. And we have a special guest. Lydia, who do we have?
Well, I just love that. It's so dramatic. Like, oh my gosh. But I love the drama. We have an amazing guest tonight. He is a double BAFTA nominated actor. Double. He is well known. You'll know him from series like Bad Sisters, Peaky Blinders, from films where he co-stars with royalty of the Hollywood world. And he is just the most genuine and authentic person that you'll meet. He's a really kind man. And so it's really a big privilege that he's here tonight just to share some of his story. And it's an extremely vulnerable thing to do. So I just love it if you clap and welcome him. We want to welcome our friend Daryl McCormack.
Woo! Hey! That's my guy.
Wow. You almost had me tearing up already. I was like, wow, thank you.
It was the singing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the singing.
It was the singing.
Wow.
Daryl, I forgot to mention you're Irish. I don't know why that's so important when you do like a intro to like mention where people are from, but it helps place the accent.
It does.
If that helps.
Also, I think Irish people are just so proud of being Irish. It's like such a small country. There you go. I see a hand going up already. So yeah, it's such a funny thing. It's like we're a small country, but I guess we've done so much. And I think even particularly in the area of arts and culture, there's so many amazing Irish poets, writers, actors, musicians. So it's such a thing. It's such an Irish pride is a true thing.
Love it.
Yeah.
Daryl, why are you here? Why are you in a church on a Tuesday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Tuesday?
Tuesday night, yeah.
Tuesday night.
Yes.
Tuesday evening.
Yes.
With us.
Yeah.
Singing Amazing Grace.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, it's an area of my life that I've not gotten to share a great deal of because it's relatively new, you know. I guess as a short answer, you know, I've come into faith, a belief in God over the last 3 years. And I guess that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. But I guess to give context, you know, to start to tell you who I am, where I'm from. I was born in Tipperary, born in Limerick City, which is a city in Ireland, not too far from a small town called Nina. I was raised by a single mum, Teresa, my mum, and I grew up in a small town in Tipperary, raised by my mum and my grandmother. Started getting into acting when I was very young and traveled to Dublin to study acting. Sorry, no, I'm maybe going a bit too ahead. I'm here to talk about my journey to faith. Sorry, I'm doing your job for you. Sorry, that simple answer.
Please keep going.
Yes.
I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I'm here. Yeah.
Amazing. Tell us, like, what actually brings you back to the UK? Because,
yes,
you know, you just moved to New York.
I just moved to New York. I moved to New York in November. And I've just moved back because I'm about to shoot a film with this amazing filmmaker called Clio Bernard. She's a filmmaker that I've been such a fan of for a long time. She had a movie come out called Ali and Ava last year, went to the Cannes Film Festival. But we're about to start shooting on that in about 2 weeks. So I'm here in London to see friends and loved ones. And then I'm going up to Birmingham Thursday to get ready to prep for that. So I'll be back in the UK for a total of like eight weeks. But yeah, I lived here for like 7 years. So it's become such a home. And I've like met some of my dearest people who are like sat here with me today. So yeah, it feels so good to come back to London. And New York is very different as well. It's like
very cold.
Very cold. Wale was visiting me like about a month ago, and he was staying with me, and we were walking into the city. He was like shivering and just like, how is it this cold? It gets very cold.
It's so cold.
But yeah, so I'm back to do some work and kind of see friends and family, and to do this. I feel so honored to be here and to share my story. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So tell us a bit more about your upbringing. I know you didn't grow up in a religious household, so.
Definitely not, no. Yeah, so I guess context, my mom is Irish, my dad is American, and my mom emigrated to America when she was about 19 or 20. And she met my dad, who was stationed in the army in Nevada. So they met in Nevada and kind of had a relation for a year or so. She fell pregnant and decided to come home to Ireland. I was born in '93 and was raised by my Irish family, the McCormacks. And yeah, I guess to give context, like Ireland is a very Catholic country. I would say that like faith is kind of introduced through more of a societal reference. Like I would have grown up going to like the Christian Brothers, or I went to a primary school where I had to do Holy Communion and confirmation. But it was very cultural. It wasn't necessarily like an interactive experience or like I would say a lived-in belief in God. So that was kind of my awareness of faith growing up. I had a grandfather on my dad's side. His name is Percy. And the only kind of like awareness of like faith was when he would say, Daryl, you know, God loves you, you know. And that was like a phrase I heard quite a lot, but I just always thought it was like something Americans say. I was just like, that's just like what Americans say, you know. And like you'd used to say grace around the table before we ate dinner. So yeah, that was kind of the bare kind of context I had for faith. Yeah, I grew up in Ireland, like an only child, single parent, was very into sports, and I wasn't so great at school academically, but like if there was a subject that I enjoyed, like English, I seemed to thrive better in the things that I enjoyed. Like I basically was diagnosed with ADD when I was 8 years old, and that kind of made a lot of sense for just like how my mind worked. But yeah, I grew up in Ireland and then went to Dublin Institute of Technology to study acting when I was 18. It was kind of touch and go between like wildlife photography and veterinary. I was like super into animals when I was growing up. I used to always watch like wildlife documentaries, and I remember my auntie showed me like a shark documentary when I was 8, and I was like, people actually go to like islands and like shoot these videos. So for a while, it was touch and go with what I wanted to do with my life. But acting was something that always kind of remained there. Like it was always present. It was always a talent that I had, or the idea of telling stories. And I remember I used to always be around the kitchen table with my mum and my nan. And I didn't always grow up in an easy home. Like it was at times it could have been heavy. Like my mum was a young mother. She was 21 when she had me. And you know, she was a young woman missing out on her 20s to some degree. So my dad was still in America. So I kind of grew up without the presence of my dad. And at times that was heavy for everyone.
And when did your grandfather come in?
So after I was born, my mum was trying to find my dad because he was in the army, but he left through like dishonorable charge or something. And because of that, they remove your documents, your address. So she was sending letters to the embassy, like trying to find any address that she had for him. And after about half a year or so, she just gave up. And it wasn't until I was maybe 9 months old or so that she received a letter through the post box. And it was my dad. And my dad had an address for her. And in Ireland, you don't change address. It's like very common in America to maybe move around. But Ireland, we had like one address. We stayed there for like, decades. And so all of a sudden she had contact with my dad, and she reached out to him and sent him letters, sent him photos of me. And she was like, I'm going to sicken his SHIT, right? She was like, because I think, she was like, witnessing having a child. And I guess she was recognizing this man as missing out on fatherhood in some sense. So she sent a letter to him. And in that moment, when my dad received that letter, he was like, I'm going to take it upon myself to tell my father that he's a grandson in Ireland. And so he tells my grandfather, Percy Thomas, that he has a grandson in Ireland. And upon hearing that, my grandfather, Percy, booked a flight and flew to Ireland the next week. And
how old were you?
I would have been about one and a bit, I think. In about one. And yeah, he came to Ireland, and I think he was like, his main thing was like, there's an awareness of like, even within the black community, of like fatherless, you know, homes and stuff. And he's like a man of just like great integrity. And he was like, I'm going to make sure that this Irish family know that this boy is loved on this other side. You know, he wanted to connect the two families. And really that choice of his, really on my dad, to reach out and for him to kind of share it with his dad, is what began to unite the Thomases on my dad's side and the McCormacks on my mum's side, and brought us together. And I've been very close to my grandfather ever since. He's actually been probably one of the main reasons why I pursued acting in the beginning. He was an actor in the 70s. Was like in scenes with Al Pacino.
Wow.
Yeah, he was in a film, I can't remember the name of it. I remember there's the Criterion channel where people like recommend films, and like Denzel Washington's son recommended a movie, and it's actually a movie that my grandfather's in. Like in the very beginning, he's like shining shoes. Wow. So he's a massive passion for the arts, and he continues to do it. He's like 83, and he's like running a theater company in his with his wife in a small town. Yeah, he's like the busiest man I know. Like I call him, and he's always on the go, like tearing down sets, building new sets, writing plays, directing plays. So it's been his passion for a long time. So I think we've always had a very close bond. And he's also been the kind of main figure in my life that's had faith for quite some time as well. But yeah, I just saw him as my grandfather. Yeah.
What an inheritance.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're quite a big deal, Daryl.
Oh, yeah. That's very, very famous.
Yeah.
Very.
How is that? Did you dream to be a big deal?
Yes. Well, it's interesting. I think like it was, you know, I've always had a passion for acting. I think what I was going to say earlier was that storytelling became a knack for me as a kid, because I lived in a home that sometimes was very stressful, and I found that like if I was like pretending to be like a character or a person from our local town, or like put on a face and a hunchback and a limp or something, just being very silly, I just saw that it brought levity like to the room. It brought like kind of freedom and laughter. And that, I think, were like the very early seeds of like what storytelling does for people. Is to kind of give a sense of escape and to like put them in a place where they don't have to think about their like everyday concerns. That wasn't cognitively what I was thinking at 8 years old, but like over time I realized actually there's like purpose in this, and there is actually like a vocation. I could actually dedicate my life to this. It feels like important to be able to share stories, and particularly when it brings a sense of identity to people, a sense of freedom, and even just a sense of recognition. You know, when you go see a movie and you witness a character go through something maybe you've gone through in your own life, it's such a kind of, you're seen, you feel seen. Yeah. So that like put the seed in, and then started on the journey. And I think at 17 I went to a play in Manchester, and I remember vividly seeing like my grandfather was there, vividly affected by the scene in the play. He had lost his mother, my great-grandmother, Lillian, and it was through like how the story kind of shook him that I was like, okay, this means something for people. So that was what really made me make the choice to dedicate myself to it. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And do you have a career highlight?
Wow. I would say that like there's been a few moments. Like I remember when I got on a West End stage for the first time, and prior to that I was working in a cafe in London called J&A Cafe. And I think it was very significant because it was like just before I was actually at a point where I was really ready to give up on acting. I had just moved to London 2017, and yeah, things weren't going that well, and so I was really considering actually giving up. But I remember I held on, and the first job I did that kind of took me away from working in that cafe was a play in the Noel Coward Theatre. And I remember like stepping onto a West End stage and just seeing the seats and the lights, and just like knowing that within a few weeks I was going to be performing to people. And I think ever since I've been a kid, like being on stage and being in like the West End or Broadway, they're very like pinnacle moments, I think, for actors. So that was like a very early significant moment. I recently got to work on the latest Knives Out movie. And that was, again, another kind of step that felt significant because it's like moving me into maybe more commercial work, but yet work that like directors who I admire and stuff. So there's always stages, there's always like pinch me moments. But I really do feel like the seed of like what you do, like storytelling, I feel like it's ultimately the same as like the 8-year-old Daryl who's like putting a hunchback on around the kitchen table. It's, you know, essentially the essence is the same, but there's always moments where you kind of come out of your body in some sense and go, oh wow, like I'm kind of achieving some of the dreams that I've had since I've been a little kid. Yeah.
That's cool. So I was getting my hair blown out earlier because I knew I was going to be sitting in front of people. And I was talking to my hairdresser, and he was like, it's a proper East End hairdresser, and he was like, what are you doing tonight? Like, you going out on a date? Like, are you like going to a party? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh no, I'm actually hosting a podcast. And he's like, oh, what's it about? And I was like, it's called Amazing Grace. He's like, oh, is it Christian? I was like, yeah, we're talking about God. Anyway, we started talking about it, and he said, well, as the person you're interviewing, someone that had like a really awful life, like were they like really bad and now they're really good? And I was like, well, ultimately all our lives are a bit of that, bad and good. But I was like, no, actually he's a very successful, accomplished person. And he was totally shocked because I guess there's a perception of church and people being attracted if you didn't grow up in church, that it's only if you need a crutch, like only if you need something to get you through your really hard life. Now, that's not really your story. No. So
I can tell you my story.
Yeah. Can we?
That's why you guys
divine
are here.
Intervention.
Divine intervention. Yeah, I moved to London in 2017, I guess to continue pursuing acting. And I was here for about a year or so, and I started dating this girl from North London. And I think just as a context, like I've always been a spiritual seeker in some sense. I've always been open to the idea that there is something bigger than us, that there's something ordaining things. So my heart has always been like that. My spirit has always been like that. But I came to London in 2017, and I met this girl who I started dating for a while. And she had a space in her home, which was called Space, actually. And it was essentially a home church. So essentially the equivalent like setup of like a regular church, but it would be just for the local families around the area, friends and family. And so every Sunday they would get together in their big living room, and they were musicians as well. So they would like play worship music. They would essentially worship, read sections from the Bible. Each week there was something that they would be talking on, whether it's forgiveness, love, all of those things. And I thought it was like amazing. I was like, this is cool. It's like a beautiful community. And I never wanted to really try it out. I was like, amazing, no judgment, do your thing. And I would always see them afterwards, like when they had finished, I would like see them in the kitchen because I'd be in the house, and just like friendly people, just like nice people. I was like, how are you guys doing, you know? And so that was just something that was percolating in the background for a while. And I think my journey, I guess, began when I started like exploring internally again, just like that craving to reach out. And I remember I was living in Victoria Park, and there's a church in Victoria Park, like an old Anglican church. And one day, like I think it might have been in summer, I just was like, I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go to church. And I didn't really go growing up at all, you know. I just felt this like call to like go to a service on a Sunday morning. So I went and I sat in church, and it was relatively kind of similar to what I would have experienced in Ireland, like slightly Catholic. But so I sat there and the whole message and stuff, and I remember I was like, that's beautiful, nice. It was nice to do something for myself as well that morning, like kind of do something different. And I remember towards the end of halfway through the service, it was like a weekly notice for like things that were going on in the area and stuff. So we took it out looking what's going on in the area, community, charity stuff. and we had a big hymn book. And so I took the hymn book and placed it just in the notice in the hymn book. And then at the end of the service, the priest was like, can we open to pay like hymn 625 or something? So I go grab the hymn book again, and naturally I open it just where I put the leaflet in. And I open the hymn book and it's like bang on hymn 625. Mind you, this is like a thick hymn book. Like the chances of just like putting it in right where the hymn that we're going to finish the service on.
Wow.
Was it Amazing Grace?
It was amazing. No. Could you imagine?
Yeah, it would have been a
I'm
great
now going to
story.
sing the hymn. No. So like these things started to happen. These like coincidences, I guess you could call them. And I guess when they began to happen, I just had like a tingling on the back of my neck. I was like, wow, that's kind of the chances of that kind of thing. So anyway, I forgot about that. A week or two later, I'm getting my hair cut, and I'm in Victoria Park, and I talk a lot to like the local community. Like I love to get to know them and catch up with them and stuff. So there's my barber. I'm talking to him, and I'm like, dude, like I was at church last Sunday, and you'll never believe like what happened at the end of the service. Like I put this notice in the hymn book. It landed on the very hymn that we finished the service on. Wild. I was like, isn't that crazy? He's like, wow, yeah, that's so wild. And just as I finished that conversation, the barbershop doorbell rang, and I looked to the door, and it was the priest that was doing that service. Wow. Like just walked in, and I just looked at him and I goes, oh, I was just talking about you. I was just talking about the fact that I went to your service on Sunday, and he said, in fairness, to like something kind of corny. He was like, glad to know the microphone's working, you know. I was like, amazing. So,
can you imagine?
Yeah, so that happened. And yeah, these are just things happening. They were like kind of, I guess, coincidences, you could call them.
Kind of feels like you're in a film.
Right.
Yeah.
These are like things that you go, this doesn't happen in real life.
Yeah,
But
like a setup.
yeah, it's like funny.
Conspiracy.
And
Divine
so
intervention.
yes. And after that, so I guess those two experiences led me to curious about this space, right, that my girlfriend had in her house with her family. And so one day I was with her, and we were talking about just like, you know, difficult things about my life, childhood, like trauma that we can go through, like everything that can be part of the human experience. And I said, I think I might actually go to your space today. And she was like, yeah, come along. And I remember I went in, and I really didn't know what to do. Like I kind of sat down, and it was the first time I was seeing people like worship and put their hands up and praise. And I found it strange. Like I didn't understand it, you know. And I remember I was just trying to be respectful, because I knew people were going through their praise and experience, but I had no kind of context for it. And I remember towards the end of the service, I closed my eyes, and all I can say is that like I felt like this overwhelming presence of love like pour into me, and a sense of light like kind of break through my conscience almost. And I was like, this is coming from somewhere. This isn't my own like thought. This is like coming from somewhere else. And I remember people putting their hands on me, praying for me. And I was like overwhelmed with like a sense of emotion, a sense of relief, and a sense of comfort. And I remember like my girlfriend's mom at the time, she was like, I don't know who you are, don't know what your story is, where you've come from, but God is all over you right now. Wow. And I didn't even know what that meant. But I was like full of tears. Wow. And I remember like shaking my head and just saying, I know. Yeah. But at that time I had no context for what she was talking about at all. Yeah. So that was like such a pivotal experience that like really began something for me. And something that I guess I couldn't escape or shake off. This is shortly before the pandemic, and a bit after the pandemic, me and the girl stopped seeing each other. And so I was kind of left, I couldn't really like show up to, they weren't really doing the service anymore because of the pandemic. So I had nowhere really to try and find what I had just found. And it led me to, I guess, like exploring like the Bible and devotional. So I started reading like devotionals, which essentially are like taking something from the Bible that we're talking about, again, forgiveness, love, loving your neighbor. And it kind of digests it in an easier way, because I couldn't really understand the Bible. I knew these were stories, I knew these were high concepts and stuff, but it wasn't penetrating the way like that moment penetrated my heart almost. And so, yeah, in my own time, in my own kind of exploration, I just try to continue to commune with what that was. And whether it was like running through Victoria Park and like getting towards like the 5th kilometer and like barely getting through, I would start just trying to communicate, like push me through, pull me through. And I was having just more of those little moments. And so it got to a point, I moved to Shoreditch in 2021, and I wanted to find a church. I wanted to find an actual group of people like I had when I went to that space, what they call space.
Do you feel like it was a natural curiosity?
Yeah, it was,
Or were you like trying to go back to that experience? Like what was propelling you to?
I had felt like I had encountered something very powerful, very real, and something that I guess I was yearning for. And in a way it was not so cognitive. It was just that like I was like, I want to experience that again. I want to feel that again. And this happened over the course of months as well. I was working and coming back and forth. But when I moved to Shoreditch, I remember I was like, okay, I want to find a group of people who maybe go to church and worship and stuff. And at the time I didn't know where to go. And I remember like, respectfully, I remember this group kind of like approaching me, like in I think Stratford shopping centre, and they were like, do you believe?
Dangerous place.
Dangerous, yeah. Capitalism.
Beware of Stratford.
Don't buy those runners that you don't need. But yeah, so this guy approached and he was like, do you believe in God and stuff? And I actually started saying at this point, I believe in God, and they invited me to their service. And I remember I went like once or twice, and there was something about it, if I'm just frank, like it felt a bit off. It felt a bit controlling. It felt like I wasn't experiencing that kind of freedom that I was getting the first time. And thankfully I like had a discernment to go, okay, like maybe you guys believe the same thing, but I'm not receiving the same kind of feeling. And so like I'm gonna just like continue to go on my own journey again. I remember my friend Terence, who grew up in the faith, was like, it's normal. Like you might find people who just like can misrepresent even Jesus at times, can be intense about it. And so I went on my own journey, found a church in October 2021 called Saint Church in Shoreditch. And I remember I met a guy called Toby Thomas, really lovely guy. And he was like, come to like the men's Bible study. I showed up like 55 minutes late.
You weren't trying to go, bro.
I was not trying to make it.
You weren't trying.
I was like, I do not want to make it.
I was
55 minutes late. It's only an hour long. Not wild. I've never been that late for something. So I show up at like 5 minutes left. I can't believe I even like made the choice. You know what I mean? I'm so embarrassed. Like, and I walk in, and I see this group of men like around my own age, like also just like kind of look cool, young men, like hipsters, would you call them? Like dressed quite cool, and and there were like men talking about their faith, talking about God, talking about their relationship with God. And I remember one particular guy called Aaron. He was just describing this time when he lived in China, and he was describing how his relationship with his mom wasn't always great when he was growing up. He found himself to be disrespectful. He didn't really, wasn't always grateful for her. And there was a time in which he was describing how when he got very ill in China, his mom, upon hearing the news, like flew straight to China to be with him. And I remember him describing that was like a representation of what like Christ's love is, that it like chases after you.
Wow.
And so I was just finding these young men like very compelling and like their story compelling. And I was able to have like regular conversations with them. They felt like real people. And I started attending St. Church, started going every Sunday and like meeting the community there and like learning some of the worship songs. I got to the point at some point where I actually put my hands up. And I started to, experience, I guess, a community and people who were following God. And for me, I realized for, I guess, a few months, I had always like sat in church and believed in God, but never really believed in the figure of Jesus, right? Like every time they spoke about Jesus, I just like was like, don't get it, don't buy it, don't really understand it. And at this point I had started praying, and I remember just praying around October, like shortly after it was Thanksgiving. And I remember just praying, I said, God, like I feel like there's more of you. I feel like there's more of you that I actually don't have. And all of these things, I guess, come from like this sense of spiritual sensing, you know. And I remember like this sense of being like, I just want all of you. Like this voice saying, I want all of you. And at the time, like I remember there were things in my life that were really ruling my life. I remember at the time I was very much like a serial dater. I was looking for love a lot at the times in dating people and going out to parties and I remember him just saying like, I want all of you. I want like complete kind of commitment.
And what did that mean for you? Like, what do you feel like the Lord was saying to you in that?
In that, I felt like, I guess there came a point where I felt like I was starting to live two lives, right? I started feeling like there was this authentic voice speaking to me about who I was. And there was another voice that I had kind of been playing myself, like this actor and this kind of, you know, when I was growing up, I remember just like being told that I was very handsome and good looking and charming. And I think when I was growing up, that was something that I really found an identity in. And it crept into my 20s to the point where like it became such a crutch that I was really smothering actually a deeper part of myself.
Wow.
That was actually more authentic than just my looks. And like my true friends knew, you know, but I think when it came to like me trying to find love, I would lean on these things. I'd lean on intimacy. I'd lean on like dates. And I guess through that prayer, I felt God was saying like, if you give me all of you, I'll tell you who you are.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
And I remember just like in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice everything. And what that looked like at that time was I made a choice to just like abstain from dating, from seeing people. And that was difficult because it became such a thing in my life that I held on to. And so I remember Thanksgiving came around and I had made that choice, and I came back to London after Thanksgiving, and I had meant to go on a date with this girl that I had spoken to before I left for Thanksgiving. We went on this date and we were talking, and we got talking like naturally as people like talk about sex and intimacy and stuff. We got talking about that, and I felt like a impulse to tell her. I was like, hey, like this might sound presumptuous, this might sound like a bit left field, but I've actually recently made a decision to like just abstain from like all intimacy, just to like in a spiritual sense. And I remember
Top dating tips.
Yeah.
First date.
I just want to read in bed instead. Yeah. But yeah, I remember so vividly when I shared that with her. And I remember I was looking down. I wasn't looking in her eyes when I was sharing it. And I remember looking up. And there was a moment between us where we both like like woke up for a second.
Wow.
And I guess it was like, in the Bible it talks about a veil being lifted from our eyes.
Yeah.
I was blind, but now I see. These are lyrics that come from real experiences, real encounters that people have with a living God. And for me, in that moment, when I shared that, I guess I was like, I'm choosing this voice that I'm hearing. And it was like I was blind in that moment, and I did start to see. And that is like something that spiritually began to happen, but cognitively, I wasn't really making sense of things. The week passed, and that happened to be Easter week.
Wow.
And so the week passed, and I was like talking to friends, and I was starting to get the sense of, I'm starting to really consider the story of Jesus, starting to really consider the figure of Jesus. And months having been in church and really, again, not really believing in that part of faith, I started to really consider it in a real way. And I guess over the course of that week, I had like these profound experiences of love. That like initial feeling that came started pouring back into my life. I had this like complete eradication of fear of death.
Wow.
I had this like palpable belief and sense that heaven was a real place. And I had a profound love for people.
Wow.
I couldn't believe that there were so many people to love on, to encounter. And I was like a whole week of being like listening to God, asking him what he wants me to do, like leading me through the streets and talking to people, being open to having encounters with people.
Yeah.
And I remember like talking to my friend Devon, and I just said to him I called him at 11 a.m. And I said, dude, we need to talk. I was like, I think I believe in Jesus Christ. Like, I think I believe in him. And those were words I couldn't believe were coming out my own mouth. Because mind you, I'd never believed in faith, and used to be on the tube and like some guy's like, Jesus Christ loves you. And I know the kind of, I was like, okay, amazing. So glad. Yeah, amazing. Let me walk like as quick as, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That was Wale.
That was me.
That was you, right?
Yeah.
I had
Nice
all
to
of
see you
these preconceptions, but I was beyond all of that. Like I was having a very real and unshakable experience that I just couldn't deny. And it led me to the figure of Jesus and the deity that he claimed when he was here. And so that led me to further exploration. And in that kind of, that ended up around like Easter Sunday, this is all happening. I was like, I understand what Easter means.
Wow.
This idea that this man was alive in, 2,000 years ago, and Good Friday was crucified, because some people believed who he was, some people didn't. And the story is that this man 2 days later is seen. And there's like eyewitness testimonies saying that they've seen this man, they've walked with him. They know who he is. And it's just such a strange thing, because like for me, the idea of faith or the figure of Jesus was such a distant concept. But like in that week, it became so much more real than I could have ever imagined.
Wow.
And again, like I just did not foresee myself in this place, like in this position. And but it all came down to like the sense of love and assurance that I felt. So I remember shortly after Easter week of 22, I like made the choice to get baptized. And kind of ever since then, I've been exploring what it means to me to like follow Jesus and to explore that relationship. And it's what has led me to speaking here 3 years later.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you think you were going crazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, do you want to speak into that a little bit? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure the idea for some people that there is a voice
Yeah.
in your head
Yeah.
feels like you're going crazy.
Right. I think the thing about it was that it's not necessarily always a voice, but that initial feeling that I had when I felt this over a sense of unconditional love,
Yeah.
it's like intuition, you know, it's like sensing something.
Yeah.
And I guess I was trying to tune this sense of listening and sensing. Like there's a verse in the Bible that says, "Be still and know that I am God." And it starts with the command of being still. And so I felt like it's not necessarily I was hearing a voice, but it was like I was feeling the presence of like someone who was guiding me.
Wow.
And I always found that it came with the presence of love and assurance.
Yeah.
And that was how I felt like I was testing whether I was going down the right way. Because I think it can be scary as it happens. Because for me, I mean, if you think that I was not a believer and now found myself to be a believer, it's a very earth-shattering idea, you know, that someone could be of God, a son of God, and actually cohabit and live here with us. That is a very it's a very far-fetched thing to grab a hold of.
And you weren't looking for it.
I was not looking for it.
Yeah.
If anything, like realizing how difficult it is to like almost walk out, like unbeknownst to myself, I would have been like, I don't know if I can handle this, you know. And it's changed my life, you know. It's changed my life. I'm learning how to walk with it daily, but it wasn't something I was looking for. And it found me, you know. And I think that's why I guess I described, you know, my blog or like tagline as divine intervention. Because I was really just going on my own direction. I was going down what I thought I knew was right. I was going down my own vices and my own things that I was holding on to. And in a way, it was slowly bringing me away from who I actually authentically am. And to build, I feel like as I've found God, I've been like resourced more so to build a life that I actually desperately want. Like values that I desperately cling to, like family, to be a father someday, to be a present father, to be, to be loyal to another person, to get married, to love. So all of these things are like deeper desires that I've always had. And I think my kind of relationship with God has really highlighted them to me.
So beautiful. Like just going back to the moment where you were speaking to that girl.
Yes.
On your second date.
First. Yeah.
The date he
First
shouldn't
date.
have been on.
First date.
On your first
divine
date.
intervention.
Divine intervention.
Classic. Yeah.
And basically, like, you had a moment before the date where the Lord basically told you to abstain from all, like, you know,
Yes.
all forms of intimacy and
Yeah.
stuff. And you're basically confessing that to her.
Yeah.
And you basically said that in that moment that you said that,
Yeah.
you, like, it's almost like the lights went on.
Yes.
And, like, you saw for the first time.
Yes.
And there's actually a song, I think it's from Hillsong.
Yes.
It's called Touch the Sky.
Do you want to sing it again?
Touch the sky.
But the song basically, there's a line that says, I found my life when my knees hit the ground.
Yeah.
And it almost sounds that the moment you surrendered, like a key aspect of things that you used to do, like the moment you surrendered, okay, God, I'm going to abstain from this.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you saw.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is, like, what did you see? Like, even in that moment, what did you see? And, you know, what are you continuously seeing?
It's a funny thing because I felt something instantly change in that moment, in like that decision to kind of like uphold my part of the promise, like, so to speak. But I remember just like looking at her, and we both. The funny thing is, like, she began to explore faith too.
Wow.
So it was like this kind of symbiotic moment that happened for both of us.
Wow.
And so we both actually felt something.
Wow.
And I remember saying to her, I said, does it feel like I can see you for the first time?
Wow.
And she was like rubbing her eyes, like, I kind of like, it was like one of those things where you're like double blinking.
Wow.
We were both like shook, and like we had felt this presence, this moment that just like snapped us awake. And so, yeah, I felt like for me, that was like actually the moment God really revealed himself to me. But I don't think in that moment cognitively I knew what was going on at all. But I did feel like something changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you feel like Jesus saved you from?
Wow. I mean, I think there's something that I didn't, unbeknownst to myself, I think I was using my own knowledge, my own sense of awareness to kind of guide my life. And for a long time, like, I guess the presence of Jesus and God in my life has highlighted to me the ways in which I was actually like blind to things. Like how much using things or vices were like actually really taking myself away from myself, really not helping me hold the values that I really have in my heart. And so I think it gave me a deeper love, like for something else. And so you could say a deeper love for God, but also a deeper love for like the man that I actually want to be and the values that I want to embody. And so it gave me a vision to do so and a person to focus on. I believe that like my walk with Jesus will save me from multiple things that I don't even know. And it will continue for the rest of my life, hopefully. And it's only been 3 years. It's only been 3 years. So like, I mean, hopefully I live for another 60 years. Yeah. But so yeah, it's just been an amazing 3 years. And I have like grown so much over the last 3 years. Like beyond my own strength, right? Beyond my own kind of wisdom and things that I could do for myself. There is something amazing about having a faith. Having a faith, and also just like when you feel like I felt that palpable of unconditional love, and you know that presence is for you, it is so powerful to operate your life knowing that actually if I put my faith in this presence, in God, the unimaginable can begin to take place in your life. Things can be transformed. My relationship with my mom has like blossomed. Blossomed. And yeah, so much. Like even just being able to hold a space for friends, to like know about like the ideas of forgiveness, like these teachings that are in the Bible, that Jesus taught, to really study them and understand them, but also understand what his bar for them was. Really kind of lays out a foundation for you to like walk uprightly. So yeah.
I love how you describe being awake, feeling awake. And earlier you were talking about a time where you were running, and I wondered if you wanted to share that, because it's a very beautiful picture of feeling awake. Yeah.
I think the end of that week where I came to faith, I was coming out of Liverpool Street, and I was listening to a song called How to Build a Home. And I was struck with the lyrics. I was struck with kind of what had happened that week. And I remember I was walking and I was kind of looking to the sky. And again, I felt this overwhelming sense of protection. But what really began to take place was like this awareness that I was alive. Like this gratitude that I was alive. The gratitude for everything that's kind of happened in my life. And I remember I was walking and I was like, you know, it's not enough to walk right now. And I started like jogging. And then I started like full on running through the streets, Liverpool Street, with this like, I was like sobbing, overcome with this joy. And it was just from this sense, I was like Daryl McCormack, you are alive, you are loved, you are held, and there's so much for you. Yeah, just gratitude, like just utter gratitude. And yeah, just like this sense of like, you're going to ask my favorite Bible verse, I know, but this is the time to say it. But there's a verse in Isaiah 41:10 that says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand."
Wow.
And so this sense that there's something looking out for me, that's God. So yeah, that was the moment. I did not know how I was looking, but yeah, it was just like a profound moment. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, I just have a few more questions. But before I ask, I actually just wanted to share how we first met. Because that really struck a chord with me. So I went to preach at Shoreditch Church, St. Church.
That's
your
right.
Church.
Yeah.
I think just over 2 years ago.
That's right, yeah.
And we connected, and a few weeks later, we went to have some brunch.
Yeah.
And I remember Daryl was essentially asking me questions about being faithful to Jesus and like what does purity look like, especially as a guy and everything and stuff. And what struck me was that your questions were so sincere, and it was our first time meeting, but you just had all these questions. And what I saw in that moment, that wow, this guy really wants to honor God, like you really want to live for Jesus. And I remember asking you, I said, "What do you do?" And you said, "Oh, I'm an actor." And I actually said quite candidly, I said, "Why does someone in your industry want to be so faithful to God?" And why you asked me questions about purity and stuff. And you responded and you said, "Wale, because I want to be the man that God has called me to be."
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking internally, I've never seen purity of heart like this. Because you're in an industry where you can really rebel against faith, against God, where you can essentially do your own thing and no one will necessarily hold you accountable and stuff. But those words specifically, I want to be a man, I want to be everything that God has called me to be. Why does that matter to you?
I think firstly, for context, like growing up without a father in your life can be difficult. And I think there is a sincere kind of ambition to be a different person or to make a difference. And when it particularly like pertains to purity and like abstaining, for me it was about giving space for what I was discovering with God, but also like to have like values of like marriage and to be committed to another person and to know that like that's also going to take like areas of whether it's like, you know, disciplining yourself sexually or like abstaining, because men can be fallible. People can fall to the temptation of different things. So for me, just seeing also my mother, who is a single mom and like sadly is like had her heart broken by men, you know, I think for me, with the work that I'm in and knowing that, you know, everything is there for you if you want it, but I think I've always been wanting to build a bigger thing for myself. And I've always wanted to, be the difference that I didn't see in my own home. And so that's kind of what led me to just like focusing on that and to exploring that through my faith. And knowing that like, it's, you know, to have values and virtues that you embody and hold in a real way is also going to take you to actually practicing things and to letting go of things. So there's like a realistic element of like, okay, you're going to step into a marriage and then all of a sudden you're going to have the kind of the strength to be faithful your entire life to that person. I think there's just elements of like practical things, you know, that I think purity was helping me actually build in my life as well. Which then actually increases your faith to go, oh, I think I could become one other person's person for life. I think I can be faithful to them because I'm being led by something bigger. I'm being led by, teachings that are helping me understand these things, and also the value of them, like, you know, yeah, like just like down to a basic thing of like not having more fatherless homes. You know, betrayal is like a really hurtful thing. There's so many people that have been hurt, families have been hurt by betrayal, sons and daughters. So for me, it's about doing what I can to make the difference, not to repeat things.
So beautiful. And this is a bit spontaneous, and I hope he's up for it.
We love it. We love it.
But Lydia and I, we had this concept, this idea of having a +1 on the podcast, and I know one of your good friends, Terence, is in the room.
Yes, he is, my dear friend.
Terence, brother, could we borrow you for a second? Hey, let's welcome Terence.
Does Terence know about this?
No, he doesn't know about this.
This is
But
actually spontaneous.
Before you come up, essentially, I just thought it would be great to hear from someone that Daryl is close to and that has basically seen his journey. I guess the simple question is, from your perspective, what difference has Jesus done in Daryl's life?
Terence is going to take my seat.
Hey, Terence.
Welcome,
Thank you.
welcome to the Amazing Grace podcast.
Hey, I was not expecting this. I'm not gonna lie.
So, thanks for coming up.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, how has Daryl transformed?
I mean, you know, he changed so much. Like, I feel like right now he's in a place where he's finding his own identity, you know, and there's more courage to be himself, more courage to be vulnerable, and I don't know. I guess for me, I just feel like he's being the person that he was meant to be right now, you know. Because I've always felt when I met Daryl that he had so much potential, but he was, you know, like he was saying, like living life in his own terms, you know. And I remember always being by his side and always saying, like, listen, you know, you could be a different person, but, you know, you have to go on that journey, you know. And I'm quite shocked, actually. You know, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm really surprised that he went that far. You know, because a lot of people, you know, they say, yeah, I'm gonna change and I'm gonna try, and they stop at the first mountain, you know. But he's got resilience, and I'm finding it beautiful to see, you know. And I know it's just the beginning. It's been 3 years.
Yeah. Just 3 years.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just amazing. I feel like even in our relationship, I feel right now like I'm feeling a bit more safe to be myself in a way, you know, because like you said, I was brought up in faith, and then sometimes I felt like we were clashing over things that I was believing in, that he was understanding, but he was not really believing in. And then we kind of like, you know, found a way to, you know, complete each other in a way. And it's actually crazy because I'm not gonna lie, like I came to London 7 years ago, and it was a massive leap of faith for me. But then I was so lost. I met Daryl, and I was talking to him about faith. And then when he was going on that journey to faith, I was stepping away from faith. And now he's bringing me back to faith, you know, which is very interesting, you know. So yeah, that's a bit crazy.
Now you're in a church on a Tuesday evening.
Yeah, like, and I was actually thinking about it, and I was like, this is actually crazy that this man, like, he's actually bringing me back to faith. And I came to your church on Sunday, and it was actually the first time, and I had a moment and I just cried. I was like, oh my God, like I was so lost, you know, but it felt like I was coming back home. He brought me back home, you know. So
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
So yeah.
Oh, Terence, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. So, wow, that was so powerful. Always go with the spontaneous thought, Molly.
Hallelujah.
Good job.
So beautiful. So Daryl, any closing words? Like, what would you want everyone online and in person to know?
Well, yeah, thank you if you've managed to make this far into the podcast. You've listened this far. Thank you for listening and spending time with us. And yeah, if you're listening at home or you're here, I guess I would ask you to just consider the story of Jesus, the story of God, whether you have before or not. And yeah, just take courage, take faith. I think nothing can go wrong, to be honest. I really do believe that. It's really given me it's brought me to such a beautiful place. I did not foresee it, but that would be my message of encouragement. And also, actually, whether you do or don't, and whether you believe this or not, truly, I think God loves you. I know He does. And I know He wants that relationship. He wants to know you more. So either way, that's kind of what I would share. Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daryl McCormack. Hey.
And thank you guys so much for being here live with us. It means so much. And for those who just want to talk a little bit more about what we talked about, we'll be around for a little bit, and we'd love to pray for you, actually. I don't know, Daryl, you up for it? Ollie? Yeah. We just pray for you to encounter what we've all encountered, and we just want you to experience love. And the source of it. So yeah, we offer that to you tonight. And then those who are listening, please message in. Please let us know how we can pray for you, because we'd love to connect. So thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Bless you guys.
Thank you.